So, good afternoon to everyone. Today, I'm going to begin with the osteology topic next, that is the femur. So, after studying the hip bone, we are going to start with the next lower extremity osteology bone, that is the hip bone. After the hip bone, we are going to cover that is the femur. So as you have come across the osteology of lower limb are the hip bone, femur, patella, tibia, and fibula, and skeleton of foot. So in this next bone we are going to study today is the femur. As you know the introduction of the femur, you should understand the introduction. As I have told, I am going to cover the under the heads of first is introduction, then site determination, then anatomical position, then external features of the that is the femur. Then we have the muscle attachments of femur. Then we have we have to study the after the muscle attachment, that is the ossification of the bone. So first, in the introduction of the femur, you have to know is that is the femur is one of the longest and strongest bone of the body. As you know, the almost all bones we are going to study in the different classification. So as you are going to get in this, you have the femur is one of the longest and strongest bone of the body. So as this femur is one of the thigh bone, we are going to call it a thigh bone. It is situated in the thigh region. So that is a femur is one of the thigh bone. So as I have told, it is one of the included under the classification of long bone, so that it has the upper end, lower end, and shaft. So this is all about the introduction of the femur. So what is I have covered is introduction of the femur. Once again to revise, femur is the longest and strongest bone of the body, and it is a thigh bone, and one of the longest and strongest bone. It is included as a long bone. Like other long bone, it has the upper end, lower end, and shaft. So in this, you have to remember the upper end, lower end, and shaft. So here you have to remember the almost all the two ends and shaft is like other long bones. Going to the next point, that is the site determination of the femur. First site determination you have to tell is the first point, that is the the upper end bears the rounded head. As you are going to see here, the upper end bears the rounded head, whereas the lower end is widely expanded to form the two condyles. As you are going to see the upper end having that is the rounded head, whereas lower end is widely expanded to form the two condyles. So that you have to remember here two condyles, medial lateral condyle is formed at the lower end. Second point, as head is directed medially. And third point, as you see the shaft of the femur is cylindrical in shape and it is a convex forwards. So this is all about the that is the site determination of femur. So you have to remember the three important points in the site determination of the femur. I have told the first point, that is the upper end bears the rounded head, whereas the lower end, which is widely expanded to form the two condyles, that is the medial and lateral condyles. This is the first point. Here you can see, concentrate on diagram and marker, where I am showing the almost all upper end bears the rounded head. This is lower end is widely expanded to form the two condyles, medial and lateral condyles. Second point, the head is directed medially. As in the hip bone, we have studied the acetabulum directed laterally, but in the femur, head is directed medially so that they can articulate and form the hip joint. Third point, the shaft of the shaft is of the femur is cylindrical in shape, and this cylindrical shaft of the femur is convex forwards, and because this convexity is anteriorly, you have to remember in the that is the side determination. So almost all the points you have explained the in the side determination is upper end and lower end and shaft relating, and direction of the head is most important. So this is all 3 points regarding the side determination of the that is the femur. Next point we are going to deal is about the anatomical position of the femur. Anatomical position of the femur, you have to explain. First point, the head is directed medially, upwards and slightly forwards. This is very important. Head is directed medially, but it is a slightly upwards and forwards. That all you have to remember in the totally in the head. So relating the first anatomical position point you have to tell is head of femur is directed medially, slightly upwards and forwards. Second point, the cylindrical shaft or the shaft of the femur obliquely directed downwards and medially. The shaft of the femur is obliquely directed downwards and medially, whereas inferior surface of the two condyle, this is the inferior surface of two condyle, lie in the same horizontal plane. So here you have to remember almost all the points which are important here. Only 2 points you have to remember regarding the anatomical position of the femur. First point I have told, head is directed medially, slightly upwards and forwards, and the shaft of the femur is obliquely directed downwards and medially, whereas inferior surface of the two condyle lie in the same horizontal plane. That is a second point of the in the that is the anatomical position. So here almost all we have covered the introduction and side determination points and anatomical position points of the femur. Next, we have to deal about the other points where we can get that is a we are going to have the as it is the long bone, like other long bone it is having the two ends, upper end, lower end and shaft, that you have to remember, so that we have to explain in the that is the upper end, lower end and shaft in the general features or external features of the femur. So next my points to discuss is that is the uh, points which are relating to the that is the general features or external features of the femur. Here in the external features, as I have told, femur is the longest and strongest bone of the body. You should remember the longest and strongest is femur, smallest bone is stapedius, which is present in the ear, and largest sesamoid bone is the patella, and these are relating 206 bones total in the body. So these all you have to remember in the, they are the longest and smallest and sesamoid largest. So these are the points you should know in the study of osteology. Then as it is a upper end, shaft and lower end, the discussion relating the, I'm going to explain about the upper end. Upper end of femur consists of, first one is a head. This is a head which is you are going to get. This is a head, and next is neck, and this is the one which is a greater elevation on lateral aspect is a greater trochanter, and this is one which is we call as a lesser trochanter. Not tubercle, not in the humerus we have the greater and lesser tubercle, but in the femur should not be forgotten or confused. That is it has the greater trochanter and lesser trochanter, and this is the head and neck. And anteriorly, it has a intertrochanteric line, and we have the posteriorly, this is the intertrochanteric crest. This is the intertrochanteric crest. Then we have neck and head, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter. That all you have to remember in that is the upper end of the femur. So I have covered the upper end important points, like upper end of femur consists of the head, neck, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric line, intertrochanteric crest, and on the posteriorly intertrochanteric fossa. This is the intertrochanteric fossa we are going to have here. So first detail about we have to mention in the head, as you have to remember about the head of the femur. It is a rounded hemispherical. You are going to get here rounded and hemispherical. That hemispherical, which is articulates with the head of the femur. So here you have to remember about the head of that is a femur articulates with the acetabulum. So here to explain the point of the head relating, it is a half of a spherical, and it has the depression on the head, that is we call it a fovea capitis. So this depression which is there on the head is called a fovea capitis. Head of the femur articulates with the acetabulum of hip bone and forming the hip joint. And this is about relating the head of the femur. Next, going to the neck of the femur, neck which connects the head with the shaft. So head is connecting, that is a head connected with the shaft by the neck. And this is the immediate constricted part, which is we call as a neck of the femur. And this neck is consist of the as upper border, lower border, anterior surface and posterior surface. Anterior and posterior surface, upper border and lower border. That you have to remember in the totally in the neck. So one point you have to remember in the neck is neck shaft angle. The angle between the neck and shaft, this angle is 125 degree, and 125 degree is the neck shaft angle, that you have to remember. Then one more angle comes is angle of femoral torsion. So angle of femoral torsion you have to remember, that is the one which is angle of femoral torsion is 15 degree. So you have to remember neck shaft angle is 125 degree. That is the angle formed between the neck and shaft. This angle will be the 125. And the angle of femoral torsion is about 15 degree. That is one which is we are going to get longitudinal axis. This when we draw the longitudinal axis of the femur here, upper end, and longitudinal axis of lower end. Longitudinal axis here, we are going to get the longitudinal axis of the upper end, which is we are going to here comes, and this longitudinal axis here comes. So it is making the 15 degree. So that is the one which is you have to remember. That is the upper end, which is that's axis which is making axis of upper end, lower end, longitudinal axis of the upper and lower, that points which is making the 15 degree, that you have to remember. So here we have come across the what is the neck shaft angle. What is the neck I have told, then I have told the neck shaft angle. Then you have to remember about the angle of femoral torsion, that is the we have the about the 15 degree. Then going to the next part, which is we have the greater trochanter. You have to remember in the upper end greater trochanter. When you see the upper end greater trochanter, this part which is we call as a greater trochanter, and this greater trochanter is a quadrilateral and quadrangular in shape, and it has a apex, and it has an anterior, posterior and lateral surface. On the medial aspect, it has the intertrochanteric fossa. We are going to have on the medially, on this area, we are going to get the intertrochanteric fossa. That all we have to remember in the, that is the, in the femur. So I have explained you here upper end that consists of the head, neck, what is the neck shaft angle, what is the femoral torsion, 15 degree. Then I have told the greater trochanter. Greater trochanter consists of apex, upper border, anterior, lateral, and posterior surface. On the medially, it consists of the, we have the intertrochanteric fossa. This is one which is we are going to call. So this is all you have to remember in the totally, that is in the upper end of the femur. So upper end, then going to the lower end of femur. In this you have to remember lower end. This lower end of femur is widely expanded to form the two condyles, and that is we call this is towards the head we have medial condyle and lateral condyle. Above that, projection is the medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle. That is you have to remember in the lower end of the femur. And posteriorly, there is a gap between the two condyle, and that we are going to call as that is the intercondylar fossa. This is one which is we call as an intercondylar fossa. That all you have to remember in the, that is the, in the lower end of femur. So here, medial condyle, lateral condyle, medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, intercondylar fossa. That is the lower end of the femur. Next, going to the part which is we have to mention is shaft of the femur. As it is a bone which is the longest and strongest bone, because we call it's very strong strength thigh bone, and because of its that is a shaft which is made long, and that is a strong. So shaft of the femur is a one which is a length is more, and it is a strong weight bearing part, both the leg in the thigh region. So it is a bone which is we named as the longest and strongest bone. The shaft is of the femur is divided by the, as the shaft is divided by the, it is divided into three part: upper one third, middle one third, and lower one third. Totally shaft is divided into upper one third, middle one third, and lower one third. So that is you have to remember. So whatever the middle one third of the shaft, as I have told, the shaft of the femur is cylindrical in shape. It is rounded, cylindrical in shape, and middle one third of the shaft, which is has the, we are going to have middle one third. It has the three borders and three surfaces. So you have to remember about the three borders and three surfaces at the middle one third. Now I am going to discuss the upper one third, middle one third, lower one third of the shaft of the femur. So now I am talking about the middle one third of the femur is has the, that is the three borders and three surfaces. So what are the three borders we are going to have here? One is we have the medial border, and one is a lateral border, and this is a posterior border. So medial, lateral, posterior border. And what are the surfaces? It has the part which is a anterior surface. This is all we call as an anterior surface in the middle. Then we are going to have the posterior medial and posterior lateral. That is a medial surface, lateral surface. We are going to get in the middle one third of the shaft of the femur. Then going to the upper one third of the shaft of the femur, it also has the four borders and four surfaces. So in the one point you have to remember in the middle one third of the shaft of the femur, that is the posterior border of femur. The posterior border of femur is rough, ridge-like and prominent. A roughened, ridge-like, prominent posterior border at the middle of the one third of the shaft is posterior border is a prominent, and that is we call as a linea aspera. So you have to remember Linea, linea, aspera, linea aspera. So this linea aspera, what is the linea aspera is asked. Linea aspera is the posterior border of the shaft of the femur is thick, rough, prominent, ridge-like is called as a linea aspera. This linea aspera divides into a medial lip, one which is we are going to get medial lip and one which is we are going to get lateral lip. So whatever the medial side, it is going medial lip. We are going to get here, we have the medial supracondylar line, and laterally it is going lateral lip of the gluteal tuberosity towards. Then inferiorly, this will be diverging inferiorly, making the medial side diverging inferiorly, making the, that is a medial supracondylar line, and laterally lateral supracondylar line. So you have to remember lateral and medial supracondylar line inferiorly, they are the diverged part of the linea aspera, and these diverged part of the linea aspera towards the upper end, they are making the spiral line lateral lip of the gluteal tuberosity. That is, you have to remember. At the middle, it has a posterior border, medial lateral border. Posterior border is thick, rough, ridge, and prominent, like shaft of the femur. Posterior border is called as linea aspera. So this is you have to remember in the about the what is the linea aspera. So upper one third, this upper one third, as I have told, the middle one third of the shaft, it has a three border, three surfaces. In the middle one third, I have told medial border, lateral border, posterior border. That posterior border is linea aspera. In the upper one third, you have to remember it has the four borders and four surfaces. Here we have medial border, lateral border. One we are going to get separately spiral line. Then we have the lateral lip of the gluteal tuberosity. So these all four making the borders of the upper one third of the shaft of the femur. Then it has the four surfaces, as like this is an anterior surface we are going to have. Then we have the posterior, then medial and lateral. Lateral, medial, posterior, and this is one which is you get the anterior surface of the upper one third of the shaft of the femur. So lower one third, this lower one third of the shaft of the femur, this lower one third also is having the, that is the, we call as an, that is the four borders and four surfaces. As you have to remember, medial border, lateral border, medial supracondylar line, lateral supracondylar line. All these you have to remember in the, that is the lower one third of the shaft of femur. It has the, we are going to have the four borders and four surfaces. Four borders are medial border, lateral border, medial supracondylar line, lateral supracondylar line. That is you have to remember. What are the four surfaces? You have the four surfaces like this anterior surface, anterior, and here we have the medial surface and lateral surface, and we have the posterior surface, lower one third shaft, we call as a popliteal surface of the femur. This one we are going to get in the popliteal fossa, and this surface of the femur, lower one third of the posterior surface of the shaft of femur surface is called as popliteal surface. This is all about the, you have to remember about the shaft explanation. I have covered the upper end, lower end, and shaft. Shaft is divided middle one third, upper one third, lower one third. Accordingly, I have explained what are the borders and what are the surfaces consist of the shaft of the femur. So after this, we have to explain about the muscle attachments of the femur. So when you consider the upper end of the femur, we are going to remember about the upper end of the femur. We have to tell the attachments from the At the head, which is having the depressed part on the center, that is called as a fovea. This is a fovea capitis, upper end, that is a head in that fovea capitis. This provides, now I am starting with the attachments of the femur, including muscle attachments of the femur. So here you have to remember whatever the muscle attachments you have to remember are. So in this, whatever the upper end, fovea capitis provides attachment to the ligamentum teres or ligament of head of femur, or we have the round ligament. All are three parts, three names are same. Ligamentum teres or ligament of head of femur or round ligament, that is attached ligament to the fovea capitis of the femur. Then upper end, almost all the upper end of femur gives insertions attachments. Almost all the insertions you are going to get at the upper end. So one is apex of the greater trochanter. You have to remember apex of the greater trochanter gives insertion to the piriformis. Almost all upper end I am dealing, almost all they are the insertions you have to remember. Upper end, that is the apex, gives insertion to the apex of the greater trochanter, gives insertion to the piriformis muscle. Then going to the upper end part, where after the apex of the greater trochanter piriformis, the anterior surface of the greater trochanter, gives insertion to the gluteus minimus muscle. Then we have that is the lateral surface of the greater trochanter gives insertion to the gluteus minimus muscle. And posteriorly, we have, this is an area which is we call in a quadrate tubercle that gives insertion to the quadratus femoris muscle. Then intertrochanteric fossa, we are going to get the that is attachment of the obturator internus, and two gamellae are attached. That is the intertrochanteric fossa, including we are going to get obturator internus and two gamellae are attached. Rough area above the intertrochanteric fossa, obturator externus. So these all are the attachment of the head and greater trochanter of the femur, that is the insertion. Going to the lesser trochanter, when you see the lesser trochanter, you have to explain the attachment of the psoas major at the apex, iliacus and pectineus, from the line extending from the lesser trochanter to the linea aspera, that is pectineus. Base of the lesser trochanter gives insertion to the iliacus muscle and psoas major muscle at the apex of the lesser trochanter. So we have come across attachments of the head, greater trochanter and lesser trochanter. Going to the shaft of the femur, here we have come across the attachments like that is a one muscle which is attached on the anterior and lateral surface of the upper three-fourth of the anterior and lateral surface of the femur, shaft of the femur, gives origin to the vastus intermedius muscle. This is a big muscle which is attached on the anterior and lateral surface of the shaft of the femur. Upper three-fourth area gives origin to the vastus intermedius muscle. Below the vastus intermedius, anterior surface gives origin to the articularis genu muscle. Articularis genu. Then next muscle comes about the vastus lateralis muscle. Vastus lateralis muscle originates from the, that is the upper end of the intertrochanteric line, anterior inferior border of the greater trochanter. Then we have the lateral lip of the, that is a gluteal tuberosity, and lateral lip of the linea aspera. That is the origin point of vastus lateralis. Here lateral lip of gluteal tuberosity, lateral lip of the linea aspera, and I have told upper part of the intertrochanteric line, and anterior inferior border of the greater trochanter. So upper part of the intertrochanteric line, anterior inferior border of the greater trochanter, then lateral lip of gluteal tuberosity, lateral lip of the linea aspera, that is the origin of vastus lateralis. So next muscle, vastus medialis. Lower part of the intertrochanteric line, vastus medialis, originates from the lower part of lower part of the intertrochanteric line. Then we have the here spiral line, then medial lip of the linea aspera and medial supracondylar line. Medial supracondylar line, medial lip of linea aspera, spiral line. Then we have the here lower part of the intertrochanteric line, that is a vastus medialis. So this is a three vasti muscle: vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, and vastus intermedius. They are the three vasti muscle originating from the shaft of the femur. So after this anteriorly, then going to the posterior aspect, you have to remember about the posterior border of the middle one third of the shaft of the femur is called as a linea aspera. So I have told the medial lip of linea aspera and lateral lip of the linea aspera. So medial lip of the linea aspera provides attachment to the, what are the attachments of the linea aspera? Now I am talking. Medial lip of the linea aspera gives attachment to the vastus medialis muscle, including supracondylar line. Then also it gives the insertion to the three muscle on the medial lip: adductor longus, you have adductor brevis and adductor magnus muscle. They are the attachment insertions in the medial lip of the linea aspera. Adductor magnus, you have to tell insertion point: medial lip of the gluteal tuberosity, medial lip of the linea aspera, medial supracondylar line, and adductor tubercle. This is adductor tubercle. Adductor tubercle, medial supracondylar line, medial lip of linea aspera, medial lip of gluteal tuberosity. That is the 4 points of the insertion points of the adductor magnus muscle. And adductor longus and brevis, they are inserting on the medial lip, median, that is a medial lip of the linea aspera. Lateral lip of the linea aspera gives attachment to the vastus lateralis muscle. Then we have the short head of biceps femoris. We are going to get the short head of biceps femoris. They are the attachment on the, that is a lateral lip of the linea aspera. Lateral lip, vastus lateralis, and short head of biceps femoris, they are attached here. So that is you have to remember in the attachment. Three tubercles we are going to have. Here one I have told gluteal tuberosity gives insertion to the gluteus maximus. Gluteal tuberosity is this. Gluteal tuberosity gives insertion to the gluteus maximus muscle. And the posterior aspect, we have quadrate tubercle on the posterior surface of the greater trochanter. Quadrate tubercle gives insertion to the quadratus femoris. Then adductor tubercle, adductor magnus. Three tubercle giving insertion: quadrate, gluteal, and adductor tubercle. Quadrate tubercle gives insertion to the quadratus femoris. Gluteal tuberosity gives insertion to the gluteus, that is the gluteus maximus. And adductor tubercle gives insertion to the adductor magnus. Lower end on the posterior aspect gives on the lateral supracondylar line, gives attachment to the one which is the lateral head of gastrocnemius. Above that, we are going to get the origin of plantaris takes place. And medial side, we are going to get the medial head of gastrocnemius. On the popliteal surface, medial supracondylar line, there is an attachment origin of the medial head of gastrocnemius. Lateral lower part, lateral head of gastrocnemius, and above that plantar is taking origin. So this is all about the total muscle attachments of the femur. So these are the diagrams which is upper end. These are the diagrams. This diagram represents the attachment of the linea aspera. So this diagram you have to understand: medial lip, lateral lip, medial lip attachments and lateral lip attachments of the linea aspera. So in short, we have covered the, that is the muscle attachments and general external features, general features of femur. and anatomical position, side determination, and introduction of the femur. This is my today's lecture of the on femur, and here we are completing the femur from its introduction to the muscle attachment. So these diagrams you have to practice and remember. So herewith I conclude my topic of the femur.